Yeah, very good afternoon. You're watching the Policy Times, world's first policy and development media. Policy Times since the beginning has been regularly organizing a series of programs and webinars on many important topics. Today is a very special day where our finance minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji, has presented the budget. It's been 10 years in a row where this government has presented the budget. The budget has a lot of things, but before we go into the session, I want to request all of you to join me towards a special prayer or kind of a remembrance for a great man, a noble soul who was with us since the beginning, and he was the man who was supposed to lead this session and make an opening remarks on the budget. And always he makes a very nice presentation with a couple of slides and gives overall view how India is rising. So we will take his legacy. Unfortunately, I mean, we all have to depart from this world. So on 29th January, he departed from this world, but he will always be remembered, and he will always be there in this world and the world hereafter for all the good things he has done. We request the Almighty and we pray to the Almighty that let his soul rest in peace, and let him be rewarded with all the peace, happiness in the world hereafter. We all have to go. We have to be prepared. Now, coming back to the budget, a very special day. I will just share a couple of how a couple of dailies, national dailies are covering the issue of budget, and what are the major highlights. So here, the Financial Express, it says that a public issue of a life insurance corporation will be expected soon. Then we have these are a couple of summary points of the budget. Union budget seeks to lay foundation and give blueprint of economy over Amrit Kal for next 25 years. So this is the first budget which is laying out a foundation for next 25 years growth. India is at 75 now, and we are having a roadmap for next 25 years up to 100 years. Now the budget is focusing on four important pillars: productivity, climate action, financing investments, and PM Gati Shakti plan. There are 400 new generation Vande Bharat trains will be launched in next couple of 3 years, and 100 PM Gati Shakti cargo terminals will be developed shortly. Then the capital expenditure of the government has gone up, which is now 7.5 trillion, 7.5 lakh crore rupees, which is a humongous boost in the sector. Then some 5 DPR for 5 river links that we are expecting, which is to promote internal water connectivity within the country. 5G, auctions, spectrum auction we are expecting this year in the 2022. Then to promote domestic manufacturing, the government has some ambitious goal of 280 gigawatt of installed solar capacity by 2030, and additional allocation of 19,500 crore. Now the biggest, I think, couple of transformative move that we saw, and which was also being expected from the government sooner, a digital rupee which will be launched, which will be using the blockchain and other technologies, will be issued by RBI in 2022 and 23, which is expected to give the boost to the economy. Income tax relief will be pretty much same, but for the cooperative societies, personal tax rate will be same, but income tax relief is there for the cooperative societies. And one again big announcement is the virtual currency assets, digital assets. The income tax rate, there will be 30% tax on the digital asset transactions purchase that we do. And for the central government employees, central and state government employees, there is a little relief in the sense that there will be the tax deduction limit will go up a bit. Now, I will not go further into, there are a lot of points. I'll straight away come to our panel, our experts who are joining us. and we will take comments from them in terms of how they feel the budget is and what are the goods in it. How can we use this budget? Is this budget a roadmap towards making the country a better economy, or what are the challenges we had, and do we think that this budget can address the challenges the Indian economy is facing in terms of job creation and all? I'll first come to Narendra Wadhavaji. I think we'll begin the session with him. Coming from industry, coming from an association, he has a little broader perspective on this. So Narendraji, your comment on the budget. How do you see the budget? Please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Haq, for having me. I think in one sentence, I'll say that it's a future-focused budget, huge outlay for capex in this budget, and there's a lot of public capital expenditure, which may induce private capital expenditure also, this spending also. So it's a budget for longer duration, longer period in focus. So we have been seeing and expecting budget that some reliefs here and there. We used to have we are used to listen to finance minister having giving some soaps, some reliefs on soaps, and levying some taxes on tires and all. Those days are gone. Now I'm happy that she is presenting the budget digitally, not having that briefcase in finance minister's hand, and say this is a forward-looking budget. I'll say in my single sentence.
Thank you. So let us take a quick comment from all of our experts then. Dr. Partha.
Yeah, very good afternoon to one and all. See, I really agree with Mr. Wadhwa about this point. It is a futuristic budget. Instead of giving some soaps with respect to this election manifesto or whatever it is a long-term growth-oriented budget covering all the aspects for that matter. I cannot miss out Dr. Shekhar's viewpoint over here that he used to dream about India after 200 years totally debt-free. So I think this is certainly a roadmap for such an initiative. And the finance minister has certainly covered all aspects, and more emphasis has been given to agriculture and also this agri startups. They have given more emphasis upon that, and about I think 800 lakhs crores of rupees to be spent on this, and about 6,000 crores to be given to the MSME, and even for this the minimum support prices for the grains and other things have been increased. So in general, if you look at it, instead of giving focusing on the individuals, it is focusing on the industry per se. So that itself is a very big sign. I think we'll cover more points in due course during our discussions. So yes, it is a futuristic budget.
Thank you. Thank you. We have Dr. Natesh from Lifeline Hospitals. Dr. Natesh, and also, yeah. Can you unmute?
Please unmute.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good afternoon to all, and thank you, Akram, for inviting me. And again, I remember Dr. Shekhar. I mean, he was like a mentor to all of us, more so to me personally. And I want to place on record that I terribly, terribly miss him because he's such a well-wisher and a very noble soul. Coming to this topic, I would definitely agree with previous speakers, and say that it's a very, very forward-looking budget. And I must add that it's a very well-thought budget for the future, providing a lot of leeway for digital transformation, which I'm sure all of us agree is the way for India forward. And there was a big vision for Dr. Shekhar as well. And especially in my field, there are three main things I would like to point out, which I saw, which was very, very important, which Nirmala Sitharaman ji had touched upon. One is, of course, the digital registry for healthcare. A unique health ID is, I think, of paramount importance, because India, being such a vast country, is very fragmented in its healthcare. And as we all know, healthcare is one of the priorities for the future, especially in the COVID pandemic. That is one. The second thing is that the outlay for healthcare overall has increased, and for the digital health, I think startups have a lot of encouragement is being given to startups, especially in the equipment manufacturing, device manufacturing thing, and the telemedicine sector. Because a country like India, where rural population is so much and healthcare facilities, physical facilities are very poor in rural areas, digital health is the definite way forward. And I think the National Registry and the unique health ID will go a long way for us to pull data. Our digital health platforms, we are struggling. I mean, being the creator of a unique digital platform, as Akram knows, the problem with us is the data, how to pull in data, and the unique health ID will help a lot. The third emphasis is on the privacy of data. India's data privacy laws are archaic still. And this budget is placing a lot of emphasis by putting consent-based privacy a great importance they're giving. And going forward, I'm very sure that a lot of importance will be given, and more providers, payers, all the stakeholders will come together and create a very strong and robust digital health platform for India. Those are my first comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nitesh. I come to Colonel Vijay. Colonel Vijay, coming from a completely different background, coming from in a defense, now leading one of the leading think tanks of India. Colonel, what is your initial comment and reaction to the budget? Please unmute yourself, Colonel.
Yeah, first of all, thanks a lot, Akram, for having remembered me and called on to this. As usual, you are a flag bearer. You are absolutely, spot on. You have taken the initiative. Briefly speaking, I'm not an economist, but then, I've been observing and watching this budget for the last 4 decades or so. And my mind goes back to at a time, like some of the previous speakers said, we are talking about cigarettes and Hawaii chappals and soaps and that kind of a small little trivia. But now we are going, it is a strategic budget. And as far as I am concerned, like at the outset you pointed out, it's a foundation for a blueprint for the future. And I can easily say that it is one of the most progressive, reformist, growth-oriented budget. And it can be labeled as, I read somewhere, Vikas and Vistar or something like that. It's very path-breaking, comprehensive, and caters to every segment of the society. Now, some of the very important things, I won't take much time, just a minute. It is on Atmanirbhar project of defense equipment. I think in the last 1 or 2 years, it's really taken off. Now we are, I think, exporting this BrahMos missiles also. Yesterday, deal was signed, and it's a very big thing. Other thing is the startup incentives. Instead of 1 year, I wish it could have been made 3 years, because 1 year is too short a time. The merger of post office with banks is a very great idea. We are making it because post office, we are not able to leverage the entire their potential. Now that's a great idea. That's going to be a big spinner. Now, ideal of digital rupee, I really don't understand, but it's very interesting. And now GST was always a game changer. And in the years to come, it is going to progressively sort of take a leap. And now my area of interest is boost of artificial intelligence, robotics, electronics, this thing. These are very important. I only wish she could have spelt a little more this thing about the allocation, and this is very important from the national defense point of view. Then expansion of optic fibers in all the villages and others, and especially infrastructure development of Northeast. I am a close observer of Northeast. I've written books and all that, and I spent a lot of time. I think that 15,000 could have been made to about 25,000, because Northeast is going to be the future. That's going to connect you to the East East Asia policy. And otherwise, there's nothing much in the housing and real estate. There could have been a lot of employment opportunities. This is, I don't know, there was no mention of it. And middle class, of course, have been left high and dry. There's nothing much at all. but maybe they feel that middle class can wait for some time. And I'm only disappointed with the basic and higher education. There's nothing at all. I think this country needs a lot of emphasis on education. Education is the future. That's the biggest investment you can commit on. And research, because that research is a very important component. And the last thing, I just want to line, as far as the opposition is concerned, opposition is concerned, I think there's still a long way to go for their Achhe Din. That's about all. This is very briefly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Colonel Vijay, for the wonderful points that you have mentioned. Yes, definitely, education allocation is one of the foundational game changer for any nation. And I think some more highlights could have been given. There is a fixed channel. I think there is a dedicated class 1 channel that the government has committed to come up with to provide online education to the people, as online education has become one of the important components of providing education. Coming to Dr. Tawseed Malik, one of the leading entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, and also player working in the sector of entrepreneurship in the country. Dr. Malik, your initial reaction to the budget? Oh, sorry. Can I unmute again? Yeah.
Yeah. Firstly, I want to give my Shraddhanjali to Dr. Shekhar, and he was an awesome man and a great supporter for the startup ecosystem of India. So may Almighty bless his soul and give him whatever the best things in the hereafter. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the panel. My take, because I'm an Indian American and in the startups, I will look at the budget from that point of view. And I'm also a crypto evangelist, because 3 years ago, I started crypto mining training program for Dalits and farmers of India in 2017. But there was no crypto regulation, so we had to, leave the project. The budget is very nice because President Biden also did similar budget last year. And the White House passed a budget for $5 trillion investment in the American economy in terms of infrastructure. So all governments need to invest into infrastructure because that's the way the future will go. Because when you invest in infrastructure, it creates a lot of jobs. And it's a domino effect which affects every industry. So if you look at from America point of view, America investing $5 trillion. And that is boosting up everything. And if you look at our neighbor, China has been investing big time into infrastructure. So I think that's a big plus in the budget. The second thing, they have legitimized cryptocurrency by putting a taxation on that. So at least that, the shadow or the cloud on that industry is risen, and, at least the government will make some money out of it and, regulate the market. But I'm a little concerned because 30% on that will put a lot of pressure, and how many people will report this income? That's a point. So you have to create a parity between how much taxation you would charge on stock market trading. I think if it would have been similar, that would have been a better booster. Again, India coming with digital currency is extremely important. But one thing I want to say is digital is great, but there has to be a government-funded insurance to protect the customers. Like I lost 46,000 rupees a couple of years ago on Paytm, and I still haven't got my money. But in America, when I never used my ATM, but I got my money back because it's called FDIC, Federal Government's Insurance Policy to protect the customers. So I think the government should put some regulation in terms of pooled in insurance to protect the investors. And for startups, the budget is fantastic because they're talking about drone technology, electric vehicles, electric trains. So that's a good thing because across the world, every government is going on to that. And if you don't do it, then it would be a big problem for us. Every country, you take from America to Australia, they're putting big budgets. And even when you look at Tesla growing stock market, is because everyone's getting into the electric vehicles. So I think the budget is great in that. And I have not read the budget in detail, but what are the highlights based on that? I've made a comment.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Malik. I think we had the initial comment, and it clearly seems that we have a balanced budget in play. Now, let me again show a couple of highlights from Economic Times, and then I'll go to Mr. Wadhwa for the second round of comment. And maybe this time we will go sector-wise. So we will take a couple of sectors which are very important for from the perspective of nation building. So I'll first go with jobs, because jobs is something that we need to create in this country. Huge population, and hence formal, futuristic jobs are very important. So ECLGS extended till March 2023, which will create 60 lakh jobs in next 5 years. That is the commitment. Then efforts of central and state government leading to job and entrepreneurship opportunities. Digital ecosystem, the government is trying to eye and focus on skilling and livelihood, will be shortly launched. And then this will also aims to reskill, upskill citizens across. So API-based skill credentials, payment layers to find relevant jobs and opportunities. So one is job, then the second is manufacturing, because when we talk about jobs, India's strength is we are into the service sector. So service-oriented jobs are there, but unless the manufacturing sector is addressed properly, mass job creation remains a question in that matter. So strategic transfer of ownership of Air India. So that is where we are thinking. Then an e-portal to be launched to promote digital infrastructure in this country. PM Gati Shakti master plan for expressways to be formulated in next financial years. 100 PM Gati Shakti terminals. So logistics and supply chain has been given huge focus in this, and which is rightly so. We need to create massive logistics infrastructure, as a lot of e-commerce players are coming into the country, and we need to reach out to the local and tier 2, tier 3 cities of the country in terms of covering e-commerce services. Then public investment to modernize infrastructure over medium term, leveraging tech platform are important. So these are some things. And then the third point, I think digital, the third level of job creation will come from digital. And there the government has given a clear signal of promoting cryptocurrency. The government is coming, and this also means there will be a lot of other things. Now, coming to Mr. Wadhwa, you come from the commodity segment. How do you think that this budget would lay a foundation of addressing some of the core, challenges of the country, you can say, or some of the major factors needed solutions is employment, job creation, skilling in this such a massive, diverse and complex country? Your comment.
See, one of the study by McKinsey says that 40% of this 5 trillion, which used to be buzzword before COVID, will come from the commodity sphere. So our submission to the government was since I am from the commodities market, I represent the largest, biggest members, Commodity Participant Association of India. I am a president. So we submitted that we need to create an infrastructure around mandis so that, the post-harvest distress of the farmers may go. So I am happy that thrust this time again in the budget is towards the creating of infrastructure. There's a lot of, good allocation of 1.5 lakh crore against 1.47 crore on the agricultural sector. Say beyond this, I'll just say nothing for the commodities market as such, but the capex allocation of 7.5 lakh crore itself is a huge amount, which will, induce private investment also, and good excitement for the commodities as well as other infrastructure projects. This is my take for the commodities market.
Right.
And the markets again are from the equity market point of view. Although there is nothing much for the equity market also, but market always wants stable and predictable tax regime. which we have witnessed in today's budget. There's, nothing as such a tickering of taxation. What she has tried to do is to plug the loopholes only. So I am happy that there is a stability and predictability in tax regime.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Partha, would you like to comment further on this? Yeah, okay, let me unmute everyone. So it's actually, right, please unmute now.
Yeah. See, one aspect, I am from the MSME background, so I would be more focusing upon the MSME sector. The emergency credit line guarantee scheme, which was declared during pandemic time in 2020, so that to the extent of 20 lakh crores to be given as the support to the MSMEs. So it was partially utilized and partially not utilized. So the finance minister decided to extend it till March 2023. So that itself is a good sign for the MSMEs to survive, and the stressed units can be definitely looking forward to that respite. And also most of the NBFCs were very particular about that. Okay, they also need that this NPA's definition and other things to be reworked upon. So this is going to be a good breather for them. And another aspect, what I see is about 6,000 crores program to raise MSME to be rolled out for the next 5 years. So that itself is another boost to the MSME, and lot many startups can definitely look for better support. And there is one specific guidelines by Mr. Nitin Gadkari that yesterday that he has announced this more and more women entrepreneurs should be encouraged by the bankers. So that these are the very clear signals to the entrepreneur that to the extent what they are very serious about raising up the industries, the government will definitely support. So as Colonel Saab was telling that Nike, this drones and other data gathering, not only with respect to your health or something, it has gone to the extent of even to the agriculture now, that more support to be given to base level from satellite geospatial data, they have come down to the extent of going to the drone level data gathering. So that is going to give a very good support, and the agri-tech per se is going to boost up to a great extent. That is one thing. And the government has also announced this 2.737 lakhs crores towards this procurement of wheat and paddy under this minimum support price. That is the next rationalized approach that I would say that government is doing it. So overall, if you look at it, this general MSMEs and industries are definitely going to be the beneficiaries, especially this agri-tech for that matter. That is my opinion about that.
Thank you. Thank you. So I will come to the MSME segment again, maybe a little later or a startup segment. I want to welcome Dr. Ujjwal K. Chaudhary. Professor Ujjwal K. Chaudhary, can you, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, your video is not.
Continue with the discussion. Let the video come.
Right. So let me now go to the next segment of the budget. Now, I will touch two important segments. Agriculture, agriculture slightly you have touched upon. There are two important parts. Colonel Vijay also touched upon. One is electric vehicle. So electric vehicle is the major bonanza, I think, for Indian economy, because a lot of policy interventions have been also there, and the government is promoting electric vehicle massively. So there are two important announcements. This battery swapping policy to allow EV charging stations for automobiles will be framed, and private sector will be encouraged to create sustainable and innovative business models for battery and energy as a service, improving the efficiency of the EV system. Now, the most important sector, that is education and skilling. So one class 1 TV channel, as I spoke in the beginning, So the government is planning of a class 1 TV channel to be implemented to provide supplementary education to children, and then to launch the national skill qualification framework to cater to the dynamic industry needs. So the states will be encouraged to revise syllabi of agriculture universities to meet the needs of natural, zero budget and organic farming, modern day agriculture. Then this will also enable all states to provide supplementary education, the TV channel it is talking about. So these are a couple of announcements that are there. Before going to the financial sector and others, we will take comment from Professor Chaudhary, a renowned thinker and a global Indian citizen, intellectual, giving a lot of inputs and direction at the policy and at the mass level. Professor Chaudhary, your initial comments on the budget.
Of time. Here working on a project with the Daffodil International University of Dhaka. I was following the budget, and this time is short and crisp budget. And certain points, positive points, let me first note, and you have already mentioned, digital university, e-content in regional languages, 1 class 1 TV concept, very welcome ideas, no doubt. Focus on solar power and circular economy push, creating a task force for AVGC, that is animation, video graphics, cartoons, and all that. That part of media, a push towards that. Great. This is extremely positive thing. Digital rupee, RBI to introduce for blockchain, integrating blockchain, also a very good initiative. Having told that, let me also draw your attention to certain brass tacks. You have just read out the highlights of education. There is no mention of new education policy, on which the last 2 years there was too much of talk on new education policy. While there were a lot of new ideas in new education policy, there is no allotment of fund. If you look into new education policy, it said 6% of the annual budget, central budget, and 6% of the GDP. That shall be our commitment and goal, towards which we shall be spending money in education. As we know, there is no single figure in the budget. I have seen the 36 pages, 37 pages note, budget talk. As on today, there is no single figure which is like education budget this year is this. This I haven't seen yet. If anyone has seen, can draw my attention towards that. 2020, 99,000, that is 1920, that 2019-20 year, 99,000 crores was there for public education, of which 85,000 was spent actually. And the last year, 99,000 was reduced by 6,000 to 93,000 in the allocation of fund in the budget, but spending was 86.5 thousand according to economic survey, which was declared only a couple of days ago. So even what is declared, there is reasonable less spending, 10 to 12,000 crores less spending. And what has been declared last year, 93, constitute 2.5 to 2.7% of the budget, whereas the new education policy commits 6% of the budget to education. Not even half of it is being given. And this time there is no figure I can see. If anyone has found, please tell. I have from Twitter, I have seen people are commenting that this time is lower than the last time. I don't know. Last time was 93,000 crores. Whether it's lower, please find and tell. But last time 93,000 was 2.5% of the annual budget. So you told something extraordinarily good in the new education policy, but your allocation does not match even half of that. So that's on education. UGC research schemes are stalled. This is there in the budget. And this will hit the research foundation of this country. Whatever, first of all, we are not doing great by research standards. If you go by QS ranking and the higher education ranking of the world, we are not doing great. But even a few of our universities are doing great. IITs are doing great. And a few other universities like IISc Bangalore, like Jamia, like JNU, like in the private sector, Jindal Global, Manipal, they are doing pretty well. But the point is, if UGC research schemes for research, the research scholar, if that is stalled, as has been told, that is really sad. And the next point and the last point I would like to mention is that 1920, the health budget was 1.3% of the GDP. And this was equal to 2015-16 budget. This time again, I'm not seeing a single consolidated health budget, but I'm again told from Twitter update by experts what I can see. This time also it is just around 1.6% roughly. If whatever has been spent for told for health is now less than 2% of the budget during pandemic. Last year was also so, and even now. So I need to really know. Please note the commitment was 2.5% of GDP for health and 6% of GDP for education. This was the commitment of the same government, which is currently spending less than 3% in education and less than 2% in health. So my point is, promising some nice, well-titled projects, great. I really genuinely appreciate digital university. I started by appreciating good things. I genuinely appreciate regional languages, e-content, one TV, one class. I really, in this pandemic times, it is required. Having told that, where are you going to make this from? Your budget is going down year by year on health and education. Then where are you going to spend this money from? So that's the point. I would look forward to other experts giving exact allocation of public health and public education in this union budget being declared today. And what is that as a percentage of the total budget? I really want to know this because the government promised 6% in education and 3%, 2.5% in health. Though I consider 2.5% is less, but that was a promise given previous year, last year. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Professor Chaudhary. As always, hitting the nail. I'll quickly come to Dr. Malik here because during the pandemic, we saw the emergence and rise of edutechs across the country. And we were also expecting some kind of, incentives or regulatory framework towards, imbibing or integrating edutechs across the country because there is no better university than Vaiju today. The moment there is no university which is more powerful than Vaiju, the kind of impact it does. Imagine the whole edutech segment, bringing it together is around $50 billion valuation, in terms of valuation, this market stands today at. Dr. Malik, your comment on edutech.
I will take a cue from Ujjwal because he talked about the national education policy and last budget and this. Yes, education plays very important role, and if we don't invest into our next generation, then there's a problem. But pandemic created a lot of opportunities, especially in the tech sector. So we have the technology guys from the IT, and India also being one of the largest, country hosting so many universities. So EdTech gave a lot of jobs. At the same time, it also created a lot of opportunities. And recent reports which I have read is around $4 billion has been invested. So if the government works with public-private partnership in terms of online universities, that would be great booster. And also the pandemic said that and proved that a lot of middle class students are not coming to big cities to study now because they can't afford 10 to 15,000 rupees to stay in big cities like Pune, Bombay, wherever. So if the government works with the edtech industry or takes the experts from edtech industry, and we make all the universities digital or online. Right now, only around 28 universities can offer online education. So if they allow all universities to do that, that will help the next generation to study from their mobiles. And the cost of mobile is very cheap now. Akram, I have to go, but I want to make few. Am I allowed to do that?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I have to leave in some time.
Yeah.
So I would like to make few points before I,
please do.
An excuse.
Yeah.
I was expecting a lot of things for the non-resident Indians or the people of Indian origin. Like I'm an American citizen now, but I still, I live in India most of the time. There should have been some booster for us in terms of budget or post-budget, because all the diaspora is into a lot of startups, technology. And if that could be encouraged, those people to come to India and take a look at startups, that would be great. Also MSMEs per se. So this would have been a great thing if they do something for the diaspora, because diaspora is very important. Like if you look at China, the Chinese diaspora have invested a lot of money in China. The Chinese diaspora got foreign companies to China. And luckily, most of the top CEOs or the managers of Fortune 500 companies are from India. So that has to be leveraged, I think. So this is what I feel, NRI thing, a digital thing. And any question you want to ask me or a comment before I leave, I'll be very welcome on that.
Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Malik. Thank you so much for sharing your comment. Before I come to Mr. Wadhwa for another comment, I want to invite Professor Amit Kundu joining us from Jadavpur University. Professor Kundu, your initial reaction and response to the budget that we have.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for calling me. Actually, I'm totally disappointed. Now the question is why? If we look before that budget, India have basically the three major problems of India. First is the problem of inequality. It was already mentioned that only 10% of the population occupies 57% of national income. And above the 10%, top 10% occupies, only elite 1% occupies 10%. Actually, in economics terms, it is called the K times growth. And obviously, what is happening is that there is a huge, because in Indian economy is basically based on unorganized workers. 80%, more than 90% of the workers are working in the unorganized sector. And they are mainly affected due to this pandemic and due to the other reasons. So obviously, we should give some importance on this type of, to give stress on this type of individuals, because they are the major portion of the individuals, which I think, not the major, the most problem major portion. Now, you should not think about only the 1%. But what is important is that they should give more importance. But unfortunately, we are not giving any quick response, a quick planning on the basis of which we can generate employment, we can not only generate demand among the individuals. Just come to the point. One is that government has initiated in the present budget. I'm just coming to the point. They are basically emergency credit line guarantee schemes. Obviously, basic objective is that giving importance to the and also for the small and medium scale industries, so that credit delivery system can be given, and that can be given within a very short time period. According theoretically, I'm not going to the empirical parts. I'm not going to the other parts because lots of logical legal matters are there. But the question is that was also given one type of thing, because in the our budget has mentioned, our basically government policies has mentioned that 20 lakh crores was mentioned in the previous year also, or around 2000 to revive the economy after the pandemic. But the main problem is that an investor, even a small and medium industry, will be interested to borrow money if and only if they realize that they can sell their products. If I cannot sell their products, then obviously I can give you the incentive. Okay, I can give you loans. I can give you loan at a cheap rate. I can give you incentives. But ultimately, whether I can take it, if that policy was successful, then obviously Indian economy was not shown a negative growth rate. We are considering 9.92% growth rate, but that is basically initially that was basically we are going to lower growth. After that, we want to jump. So that is the main problem. So obviously there should be some given importance on this type of individuals. But in present situation, I have not found any type of policy on the basis of which we can revive these individuals, demand from these individuals. Everything is talking about the supply side. Obviously, there are some positive sides. First thing is that I am causing that giving more importance on urban development planning. Huge time is allocated for urban development. Obviously, if that happens, then obviously some employment will be generated for the development of the urban areas. But that is important. That is storage, water supply has been developed, urban infrastructure has been developed. We are also giving more importance on airports, etc., etc. But you know that, just giving an example of West Bengal. In West Bengal, government is planning to start an airport in Kochiba, that is in North Bengal, and obviously in Balurghat in Malda. But even the Andal airport is not operating. Because why? Because people don't have much purchasing power. And that is not picture of West Bengal, that is a picture of all over India. If you want to operate, you should actually live to the break-even level. If you cannot generate income level of the individuals, if you want to concentrate your objective just giving a set of peoples, then it is not possible that we can revive the economy. Sabka because it is not possible. Sabka because it will be possible if we consider the bottom of the individuals. We are considering 9.2% growth. Okay, 9.2% growth is important. But what is important is whether that percolates down to all sections of the people. Whether all the benefits can get the benefits.
Right. Professor Kundu.
Yeah, can you allow me a couple of
Chaudhary.
minutes because I also have to leave.
Okay.
In the same spirit of what Professor Amit Kundu has just now said, and before that, Mr. Malik, Dr. Malik also had said, let me also point out a few things. 20 lakhs crores relief on pandemic was announced. I hope everyone remembers that. The finance minister doesn't remember it.
Yeah.
Because there is no analysis of how, where, in what ways this 20 lakhs crores relief measure, which was like an abysmally big or extraordinarily big number that was announced, it is not there. Point one. Point two, everything that has been said is largely, not all, but most of them are largely on the supply side. So people don't have purchasing power. Continuous supplying on the supply side doesn't grow the economy. And that is where there is a problem for quite some time now. So demand side increase, there is no clarity. Manrega allocation has gone down. Let me just read out one immediate, just few minutes earlier, a tweet by Sucheta Dalal. And she is a well-known economist and journalist. And she has been a pro-government. Please remember, she has been a pro-government when Modi government came to power. And she is writing, 2 years of the pandemic has exhausted the nation, but the budget relentlessly drones on about mega plans and projects which will quietly sink. Remember 100 smart cities? Remember bullet train? So much of multimodal, etc., would have been part of it if any city had come up in the 7 years. So the point is, and there was one full year we talked about 100 smart cities. It was 6 months we talked about bullet train. In 2020 and 21, for 6 months, we have been talking about new education policy. These were grandiose plans. No reference to any of this now, neither in the economic survey, nor in the budget that has been put forth. Please remember, ports, airports, infrastructure necessary, but gross national happiness that Bhutan talks about, maximization of happiness of maximum people that Vietnam talks about as economic concepts, not ideological, economic concepts.
Yeah.
That is not there at this point of time. That part is missing out. And last point I'd like to note, there are many things that have been told to encourage the university, e-content, everything. These are very good steps. But my question is, why are you taxing 30% on digital assets income? The digital assets is a new industry, new economy. It has not even taken roots. The understanding of digital economy is not there, or digital assets is not there, even in 5% of Indians, and you are taxing it almost 1/3, 30%, without calculating their expenses of earning it. Acquisition cost reduced, operations cost not reduced. Total 30% gross on the gross income. This is killing the economy. And when we realize there will be many other countries who will be liberal with digital assets, they will go ahead in cryptocurrency, they will go ahead in digital earning. And then we will realize after some time that this was a mistake. These are my observations. I am not saying that nothing is good. I am not saying, I don't hold a brief for Congress party or any other party. I appreciate digital university. I appreciate solar power, circular economy push.
Right.
Using blockchain. But I depreciate there is nothing for the salaried class, for the middle class, no change of income tax. I depreciate the fact that allocation on health, public health and public education has not increased. And there is no talk on the new education policies implementation. I depreciate the fact that there is nothing told about the migrant labor, the migrant labor which has faced the biggest crisis during the last pandemic. And there is nothing to talk about increasing the purchasing power in the hands of the poorest people so that the demand push is there, not just supply, but demand push is required. These are my observations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Akram.
Thank you so much, Professor Chaudhary. I actually want to ask two questions here for Professor Chaudhary, if you can also touch upon, and Professor Kundu. One, that 9.2% GDP growth that we are talking.
Sir, 9.2% is in comparison to what happened during the pandemic. In the first year of the pandemic, it became minus 20%.
Yeah, my question is, can we trust this kind of figures Because
No, it's not about
this
trust.
present
The figure is correct. The figure is correct. But 9% is in comparison to the rise from the last year and the previous year. So if you look at 2019, the growth rate was 4.4%. Even when the country in which I'm just now sitting, Bangladesh, was 8.2% in 2019 before the pandemic, India was almost half of it as a growth percent, not the total figure. Total figure, obviously, Indian economy is a bigger economy. But the point is, it was 4.4% that time. Then it became minus 21% in 2020 during the pandemic. Then it came to minus 9% during the pandemic, early 21. Then it came down to minus 7% or 6%, something like that. In comparison to that, there is a 9% growth. So it is not in comparison to the absolute figure of 2019 pre-pandemic. It is only relative to the fall and coming up. So actually, if we consider 2019 level, then it would not be even 1 or 1.5% growth. That is the reality. So honestly, figure is right, but figure is subjective, is subject to the conditions.
Got it. Professor Kundu, would you like to touch upon this figure of 9.2% growth?
Yeah, Professor Chaudhary has already mentioned that is true. I also agree with him. Actually, the main problem is that suppose that for dividend we can consider 9.2%. Okay, for leaving everything out. But is it the purpose down to the all sections of the people? A growth is necessary, but not sufficient. We are talking about sustainable development. We are talking about the peoples of all the sections of the peoples. Initially, it was told that will be corporates down to the all sections of the peoples. But actually, what is happening in India is that not happening. In India, is basically before pandemic. I'm not concerned. Before pandemic, also there is a huge inequality, and the large sections of the peoples are basically still in the unorganized sector. Even if we consider that we can form an industry, okay, we can form an industry, but most of the workers in the industrial sectors are also basically casual in nature. They are not getting all the types of social security benefits. So this is the problem. That is not happening. In India, there is a huge labor force. India is the labor supply is very high. More than 1 crore, 100 crore people are basically, nearby 100 crore people are basically almost in the working force. In that situation, their skills are different. But what the main problem is, this is same thing. Second thing I'm talking about that, the government can take some steps. First thing is that we are talking about bullet trains. Okay. That means you have to invest a huge amount for the bullet trains. You have to huge amount for the Vande Bharat system. But the main problem is that in rural infrastructure in the railways that basically declined. We know that recently, I can say, example West Bengal, there was a huge rail accident. The main cause was in NGP station, one of the important stations in the northeastern region, though it is West Bengal, there is no workshop to check the railway engines because the employment generation in the railways has gradually declined. If we want to give importance on this sector, then obviously two things will happen. First thing is the unemployment can be solved directly. Second thing, the purchasing capacity of the individuals can be happen. Third thing is the railway infrastructure can be developed. We can run Vande Bharat, we can run speed, but which infrastructure? If the infrastructure is not good, then it is not profitable for him. Third thing is that we are talking about digital India. Okay, we are basically talking about that in India in present situation. We know that the huge inequality, particularly in terms of education. We know that. Actually, honestly speaking, my daughter is studying in the private schools. She will not suffer much because all the teachers are basically teaching her regularly, and in the last few years, she will not suffer. But you know that if you go to the rural areas, not only in West Bengal, but all over India, in large sections of the people, the students are being suffering because they don't have a smartphone. They are not can't go to the online section. But the main problem is that in that situation, if we want to improve the network, actually we cannot say that COVID will be gone down. Anytime it can be revived. Anytime there will be a lockdown. Anytime school can be shut down. In that situation, government should give importance on the digitalization and improve the internet facilities in all the rural areas. Here, basically, they are giving to the PPP partnership. Even when all the private enterprises who are giving support, they have escalated their price. Sometimes it is beyond the reach of the poorer sections of people. In this situation, BSNL can be revived. But government of India is not interested to revive any public sector enterprises. That's the main problem.
I'll come to the public sector undertakings, the treatment and medicine on that after I ask a question to our two other speakers. Please be with us, Professor Kundu.
I'm there.
Dr. Partha and Colonel Vijay. One important question to you, because now the government has planned to tax 30% to the digital assets. Digital innovation is the future, and I think a lot of millionaires and next generation startups are going to come from the digital innovation space, whether these are edutech, health tech, fintech, and going towards blockchain, cryptocurrencies and other formats. Now, when we come up with such a heavy taxation policy, though this has some good features, because a lot of people will be, parking their money in the digital assets, like from the blockchain and cryptocurrencies. So that may be a good thing to tax them, to get them under the tax umbrella. But at the same time, do you think this can also impact the digital innovation and future, startups that are going to boost digital innovation in future?
It will definitely affect. There is no doubt in it. See, even if I have to raise some venture capitalists from overseas, somebody is investing in my venture about say 10 crores or whatever it is, I need to pay the incentive tax about 33%. Okay, so that gives room to a lot of loopholes, people parking their money in places like Singapore or something like that, then enter into a formal formation of company over here and route the fund through some other sources. So these things are definitely happening, and government also knows about that. So to curtail that only, maybe that they are trying to make some rationalization and do something or something like that. See, in my opinion, it is the need of the hour. Says pandemic is there and people are a bit panic struck, and also it is very quite expressive that the Omicron is spreading so drastically, and it is not sparing anybody. Even if you are vaccinated, also you are affected. And okay, there is one satisfaction or consolation. It is not that fatal. But all said and done, the government is trying their level best to put the things on the track again. And as it was putting up the just 9.8% GDP, when during normal conditions, you compare only the previous years and say we have grown. But now why again we should compare 2019, and there is a steep fall there in the GDP, and then the government measures have come up to the extent that it has grown to 9.8%. So even if you say it going by that figure of 4.4% or whatever it is, yes, there is a growth in it. So you can only look forward to this in principle or the policy decisions which are going to stabilize the country over a period. Their target is, yes, the 100th year, what the nation is going to be. So they have given the strong foundation for it. So there will be some shortcomings here and there. And even I don't agree with that national education policy. Or there is definitely a mention in that due to this lack of informal education, we are focusing upon this. If you say there is a formal education, then there is a need for spending so many things. Now, on the digitization and the providing says, okay, 200 private channels are to be provided, one classroom, one TV is to be provided. So government is going to spend on those accounts. So what is the amount? They have not mentioned it. So had they announced the amount that, okay, we are going to spend about say 20 crores or 200 crores or whatever it is, then it is only going to be a very, very abstract figure. So the roadmap has already been drawn, and let's wait and see. Let's wait for the detailed budget document and see how much has been allocated on which account. So looking at the prime points there in the media, it is very premature for us to comment. That is my opinion.
Thank you. Colonel Vijay, your comment?
Yeah, as far as startups are concerned, first of all, I think if you take a big load of the government as far as jobs thing is concerned, because in India, everybody expects a 9-to-5 job and all the kind of, the freebies and everything and pensions and all that. If you see United States and even in Europe, it's all entrepreneurship. Now, the spirit of entrepreneurship, whatever you do, the government should give them tax holidays. Like I said, now they're given 1 year or something like that. Make it 3 years. Allow that person to, grow and also help him in marketing and technology. Government must facilitate the startups, give them all kinds, but it comes to tax, gradually taxing. And maybe a stage will come after a couple of years when everybody would like to. The other day I watched a program
Become an entrepreneur.
on Saturday night. There are 15 entrepreneurs, the Kapil Sharma show. They're all 10,000, 15,000 crores in a matter of couple of years. The thing is, these people it is basically the innovative indigenous, of the brilliance of Indian entrepreneurs. We've always been working for outsiders. This is the first time they're getting an opportunity. It's a huge country, huge population, huge requirement of consumer goods, and there is no dearth of opportunities. We have that, the IT, the thing, philosophy concepts in our DNA. So people can make it very big. There is one gentleman from the Tamil Nadu who has come from abroad and is settled, and other day he bought a car. I see him on Twitter. He's providing huge jobs. So I find this work. Your startup is a very, very good thing. This job things will go. We must get rid of this job. Should be only policymakers at some level and wherever it is required. But a great percentage should go to self-entrepreneurship, which people should encourage. When a next door farmer does something new and he's able to make a lot of money, others automatically get into that. So this culture of startups we should encourage, and ultimately, if they are earning a lot, they will pay. There's no way they can get away. But initial stage, some kind of hand holding should be done. Thank you.
Exactly. So maybe there are 10 players and paying heavy taxes, and there are 200 players paying less taxes. So when we encourage the industry to grow and generate more and more revenue and pay lesser tax, that boosts the economy and economic activity, and also the government requires and generates equal amount of money. So basically the tax rate should be less, industrial push should be more. I'll come to now Professor Kundu. One very important point that you last touched upon, that is what is our disinvestment policy and how do we treat our PSUs. PSUs are the backbone of the nation. We have seen PSUs creating employment, serving the most important and sensitive segments, whether it is coal, whether it is petroleum, whether it is other sensitive sectors which are of national interest and national concern, defense. Now we have Indian Railway. We saw that government has announced 400 new trains, which is a very good approach or very good announcement. Now Indian Railway has massive assets. One, IRCTC, just by launching its IPO, they have raised billions of rupees for their corporation, for their company. It's a private company. Now imagine if Indian Railway goes into that direction, what kind of money can it generate from the public? So the government is also giving a little hint, but how can it has immense assets? How do we utilize or leverage those assets? Like the Indian Railway has second number of land than after defense. How can we utilize this? Indian Oil or NTPC, these companies are massive. Why are we in such a position that we only have to sell it out? And are there any alternatives? Is the government taking a right direction through the budget?
Actually, I personally believe that there are some problems of the public sector enterprises. Their lack of efficiency. What is their India? Why they have to sell that? Why they have to they're making loss-making enterprises? Why the other private enterprises are operating efficiently? Actually, the main problem we are facing that in the public sector enterprises in India is that not properly, openly, they are not basically functioning properly. There is totally a lack of professionalism. Just give you an example. We are talking about LIC, that the IPOs are going to be privatized. IPOs are basically sold to LIC, etc., etc. But incidentally, my personal experience, I share my personal experience. After my father's death, I went for a death claim. I've given all the documents. But after 15 or 30 days, after 3 weeks, when I want to know that actually the office is very near to me, fortunately, they cannot trace the paper. Even they don't fill the apology. Ultimately, they told that, okay, you can again submit the papers again, etc. That is the lack of efficiency. But we know that in our university, if we want to lose one extra script, then we are basically job threat. And but what the main problem is that the same is happening in BSNL also. When BSNL was enjoying the monopoly power, then obviously they can utilize that. There is huge assets are there. We are talking about railways. That is also happening in BSNL. You know that BSNL offices, lots of areas are there that still remain unutilized. Sometimes they're given to public sector enterprises. Actually, you have to utilize that. Government employees basically have to realize that if I want to survive, if I want to make a competitive with the other private sector enterprises, if I want to, I'm not enjoying the monopoly power. I'm not expecting that I'm the only one who can give the telephone connection. That was happening 20 years ago. You have to want to take telephone connection, you have to only option is BSNL. But that is not the option. But the problem is that lots of employment can be generated. What is the importance of the government is that government, particularly in a country like India, the government should play an important role. Because public sector enterprises can generate employment. The theory is that they are not always profit motive. They want to basically look for the service. That is also basically told about the railways. Obviously, you can run Vande Bharat Express, you can run Tejas Express, no problem. But the problem is that you have to revive the infrastructure. You have to consider the 90% of the people who are basically utilizing railways as a competitive cheap rate. You can expect their expenditures have been increased, the fares has been increased. But when you want to get the service, they need the service. The service should be improved. A service cannot be provided because the employment cannot be generated. That's the main problem. Because the present government has little incentives, a little motive to revive the public sector enterprises.
Noted. So great. I also have, I see we have another guest, Mr. Ehsanul Haq. Mr. Ehsanul Haq, would you like to come and comment on the budget?
Can we leave now? Actually, I have
Yeah. So,
yeah, okay, I'm leaving. Okay, thank you for
Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
You're audible, but we can't see you. Can you switch on the camera also, sir?
Yeah, I can switch, but I'm into traveling anyway. I just show you my face and then I will be on audio only.
Fine.
Right. This is me here, right?
Right. Please
Thank
go
you.
on.
So right. So I was listening to few of the speakers. In fact, before I comment on the budget, I have some background to speak to all of you.
Yeah.
Let us first understand the concept of economy. In fact, the economy has changed from product to knowledge economy. Knowledge plus digital is the new concept of driving our economy. It's not about India, it's about entire world. Because of the impact of the pandemic, the world has changed forever, which includes the change in the economy model from product to knowledge plus digital economy, and more important is the collaboration economy. Because until we understand the model of economy, commenting on budget, which is an annual exercise, it will be of no use until we understand the background. Secondly, today is the need to bring the poor people into the fold of the growth story of India, which is more important before we understand what is provided in the budget. It's not important that we grow at 9% or 5%. What matters is what we do for the bottom 25% of India. Very important part of the budget also if we talk of the entire population of the country. The 25% bottom. Yes.
Right.
And the major threat that India is probably facing in today's time is that we have to overcome our poverty. We shall have to deal with the hardware of development, which includes our roads, our airports, our ports, infrastructural progress. And we need to make the human capital, which China has done. China actually has worked on human capital management. That is what current government is been talking in the last many years. With a different title, we call it Skill India. I am giving a different word to this, that is human capital management. and the need for the ordinary person in India to be able to have a couple of square meals a day. This is the bottom line situation. And over and above, also, this couple is able to send his or her children to a decent school. And the most challenging part is the employment, because COVID has given three kind of key factors. One is forced entrepreneurship, because jobs are not available.
Yeah.
Jobs are not available, so it is a forced entrepreneurship. And for making our young people, if I give you an example of roughly about India is producing 1 million engineers every year. And the major concern is how many of them are employable, how many of them are skilled, who can drive the economy. Like China has done. The current export is about 23% from China, whereas our export is only 6%. Until we promote export through young people, the dream or the target set by the government of $5 trillion economy is not possible. So we shall have to work on entrepreneurship more and more by skilling our people, transform them into becoming, self-employed. Because in today's time, if you talk of even budget also, lot of provisions being made. But the problem still stands the same, that employment is not a problem. Usse bhi badi problem is underemployment. You pass out from a professional college or a university and then you go in for a job. You get a job, but you don't get the remuneration. What you expect, what you spend during your course of study. So underemployment is major challenge than unemployment.
Next is
yes. And the next part is that we have trained world-class scientists and engineers, right? But still 400 plus million of our people are illiterate. And we also have more children who have not seen the inside of the school. Because I address to young people, not only in India, but in overseas. And when I compare the happiness index, we are 139 out of the entire world. Reason being, we are still driving the old curriculum of thousands year old. And we are not heading towards, innovation, technology transfer, entrepreneurship, skill development. On ground level, title is okay. But on ground level, probably we are still driving our education system, which is based on exams. Whereas if you talk of other countries, especially the Finland, the best education system in the world, they don't conduct exams, they conduct assessment, weekly assessment. And that is how they build entrepreneurs, that is how they build skilled manpower. Right? So 20 million girl child in this country, they don't go to school. So they are part of the marginalized sector, which I started from the very beginning, that we have to bring the marginalized into the fold of growth story of India. Then we talk of digital India. Internet is an arena full of opportunities, because I told you it is a digital and knowledge economy, but it remains out of reach for most of the Indians. So the need to provide Wi-Fi connectivity up to the village level and also increase the average internet connection speed in India to global standards. We are still a country where we have not provided the common man with basic needs like roti, kapda and makan. We should not forget that these basic demands grieve to the level which includes bijli, sadak and pani, and subsequently to kitab, rozgar and perhaps broadband internet access today. So we are the youngest nation in the world. Everybody knows we are the youngest nation. But what policy we have for the youth of our country? Right from the school onwards till the time they pass out from universities and look for a settlement in life, in career. So young India has to find a way for the marginalized and poor for human and social development.
Great.
Then I will be happy to talk of the demographic dividend of India, which is probably the major part of the entire economy drive. We need to encourage the youth to build a better India for all. They represent a potentially dynamic, most energetic, youthful population that could be the engine of the world. You see, India is the largest producer. I'm giving an example. India is the largest producer of technology, but the minimum user of technology. What we are using technology is totally outdated. We have to work on innovation. We have to train our people to stay back rather than, encourage them for the brain drain. All talented professionals are practicing brain drain, whereas I normally request the universities and industries to conduct a debate on brain drain is better or brain in the drain. Very important. So we have a lot of responsibilities on our shoulders.
Thank you.
And we shall have to work very seriously in all these parameters before we dream to become a $5 trillion economy in India. So overall, budget is not important. Probably, I think the points that I have tried to speak, that they are background points. From there, we should start, and then we start commenting on the budget.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Haq, you have actually laid down the blueprint for next 25 years, because the finance minister expressed in the first line of the finance minister was Amrit Kal, from India at 75 to India at 100. So government was actually laying down the foundation of next 25 years journey. And I think you have nailed it. You have put very important concrete points, how India can sustainably build the nation and a journey for next 25 years.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I now have with me Jyoti Mayal ma'am, who is the president of Travel Agents Association of India, TAI, one of the leading travel and hospitality associations of this country. And Jyoti ma'am is one of the leaders of the hospitality segment, and she leads from the front. And whether it is policy advocacy to industry integration and consultation. Jyoti ma'am, your reaction to the budget. And with this, we will conclude today's session.
Thank you, Akram, for getting me over here. I don't know what is there to speak. I don't know what my previous speakers did speak about the tourism industry. But I think, our trade has once again been absolutely ignored. And we keep hearing the Prime Minister and we keep hearing the Finance Minister say so many times on the media that tourism is a very important sector of our country. And it is nearly 10% of India's GDP. But I don't know if they really find the strength in the GDP, or is it only a talk that they do on the screen to just pacify us. I fail to understand that. Because since the last 3 months, I think we've been only giving documents to the government and we've given multiple representations on how we want this industry to be. And, I just heard you say, that about Amrit Manthan. Yeah. But I think it's Mahapralay. It's not Amrit Manthan, which is happening. And it's like the dissolution of the travel and tourism trade in India. Because I am sure that the sector is going to take years to revive. Yes, there will be people who will come back. There will be travel and tourism agents which will come back. But most of them will close shop. As I see the industry and as I see it from my members, most of them are not going to be able to revive ever. And if they needed that GDP back, they would have actually invested in it. So our representations, have been going on since, last 2 years. I feel that we are actually exactly where we were in 2019. And it's 22 now, and we are still there, asking for the same things. And I don't think it would have made such a huge, debt into the huge budget, which they are always investing in other sectors. Because tourism was not even named today, and just talking about, certain GST imports or that ECGLS credit line to be increased to 50,000 crores. Yes, for MSMEs, I agree there are certain steps that were taken, but that really is not very constructive about the entire industry. And we've been saying for GST input credits be available across the states of hotels and tour operators. We've been asking for TCS to be, actually it's a huge hindrance that they could have, got away with it. And the main thing that we've been asking since last 2 years or maybe 10 years actually, that please give us to be included into the concurrent list for industry status. At least give us that, which is nothing so great that you're doing. It's only that and how our fixed heads, overhead costs would come down with that, how we could bring in more policies, a standardized way of working. They keep talking about ease of business. Where is the ease of business in travel, tourism, and even aviation as such? There is nothing. And you've been a part of our growing journey, since the last 2 years of COVID. Our refunds have been a huge thing that we were struggling with. Have they got ease of business and they're trying to bring in more airlines? Is there a structure? There's nothing that they've actually touched upon into the entire thing. Saying that, I'm also going to say that, they could have done so much more, because I think, giving us MICE, the announcements around the PM Gati Shakti for transport, plan for seamless travel, plan for 400 new Vande Bharat, 5 planned DPR of river systems, 8 new ropeways under Parvatmala. That is something we are very happy about, that they are looking into the infrastructure. But who's going to be actually selling this infrastructure? What about all these airports that are being made? And if there are no proper way of working, if the travel agent doesn't exist, do you think they are capable of selling on themselves? No, I do not think so. I don't think so, because I think the travel agent, the tour operators are a very, very important part of this huge value chain. So, so what the budget could have done was, in the least, was, of course, like I said, the concurrent list could be the direct wage support to the employees of tourism, travel, and hospitality companies till the tourism doesn't actually revive. Abolishment, like I said, of the TCS, infrastructure status for the hotels, e-visa fee waivers for all tourist visas for 2022 or going beyond. And till what they had opened till 2022, I'm sure they'll have to extend that, because there are no flights literally. So how can anyone utilize those visas? Export status for tourism export earnings to support inbound travel revival. They could have doubled the expenditure allocation for tourism ministry to enable intensive global reach out to support the inbound travel. Because Ministry of Tourism, I remember, wanted to be a cabinet, ministry. And once they are the cabinet ministry, they still don't have the teeth. So how are they going to be helping us? The vision we are making for 2047, I'm not sure I will be there in 2047 alive to actually look into that vision. So I think the vision should also be 2047, which is very, very good, because you need beyond the first few years, but it should be milestone driven for the next 2 years, next 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and see how firstly we are going to revive this industry, because that is where we are really, really, that's the hugest challenge which I feel is going to be happening. So yes, we will again start talking to the MOT, the Parliament Committee. We'll continue to do that. I think because we are in a position like this that we just can't sit back and take things in our own stride, and and we need to look into our members at large. And I don't only say that on behalf of TIE. I also say that on behalf of Faith, where I am the vice chairperson. That all 10 associations. It's not that one association is struggling. It's all 10 associations. The associations which are actually very, very vital part of the growth of the economy of this country, that we need to go forward and actually see how we can drive this. And just hope that, our Prime Minister listens to one of the videos and yours, if we are talking so much about it, and actually feels where we are really hurting.
Thank you. Thank you, Jyoti ma'am. Your video is not working, I think. But thank you.
Okay.
Very important, pertinent points that you shared. And since last 2.5 years, the hospitality and tourism sector and aviation sector has been suffering a lot. But there has not been much focus on that, as the president of TIE and vice president of Faith, Jyoti ma'am, just shared. So I think with this, we come to the end of our program. So I'll take closing comments then from our speakers who are here. So Partha, Dr. Partha.
Yeah, it's as the discussions progress upon, you could see that some of these sectors have not been highlighted or not covered properly. So tourism, of course, yes, is one particular department which needs more boost immediately. Let's see, maybe the voice reaches the proper people, and maybe towards our consequent shows we are able to make the message reach the people. So I thank you very much for the opportunity, and looking forward to more such events. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Partha, for joining us. Colonel Vijay, any closing comment that you'd like to share? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Akram. I think it was a very thought-provoking and a very nice discussion. You summed it up all. Everybody has given it. Only one closing point on this travel and tourism. I think I can understand the feeling. It looks. I travel a lot, and I find only thing is right now, because of pandemic and too many restrictions of the government, it's very difficult to hold up people once this thing goes away. And as it is, I travel so much, the hotels are full, you don't get cabs, airports are just saying, absolutely, I won't say full, but they're as good as what it was. It's only that fear and that kind of a panic which is there, and the moment the government removes the thing, you'll see it will back. And let me tell you, ma'am, tourism is one thing which doesn't really too much depend on government. It is all about individual, private entrepreneurship and all. Yes, government, good blessings are required. And I wish you all the best, and I hope your industry soon picks it up. It's a very, very important part. And it's a very, very, I'll tell you, dynamic kind of a thing. And very soon, you'll see, you'll have your the peace in the sun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Ehsanul Haq, any comment that you would like to close with?
Yes, I'm not going to be specific on comments, but in general, I can only wish that let's be faithful to our founding values. Let's conquer the challenges towards a truly better India. And let's build an India that will truly shine and shine for all. And hope that the input that has come from a lot of speakers in this discussion will definitely go to the government. The governance part will improve, and we will be able to reinvent India's success story. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Jyoti ma'am, your closing remarks. With this, we will close the session.
My closing remarks as what it was. I think, yes, we do need the best infrastructure, like everyone is saying. We need a robust country. Yes, we are very happy to note that our growth is going into literally like 9%, which is a wonderful way forward. But like I said, and I'm going to reiterate, yes, we do not need the government for a lot of statutory, for a lot of cash, maybe fiscal benefits, but we do need, the right ease of business. We do need, better way of working going forward. And that's what we look forward from the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister and the Minister of Tourism, to say how we can build a very good and bring back the Sone ki Chidiya effect, which was there at one time, and see how India can prosper more.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mahendra sir, any, so we have the president of Nehru Place, Hardware Association. So Mahendra sir, any कुछ comment करना चाहेंगे आप बजट पे?
देखिए, मैं तो यही कहना
आप वीडियो को ऑफ कर सकते हैं सर, और सिर्फ वॉइस पे, हाँ,
हमारे को ओवरऑल तो बहुत अच्छा था, लेकिन हमारे आईटी को लेके
ठीक है, आपका थोड़ा सा वॉइस इशू है सर, वॉइस क्लियर नहीं आ रहा है, लेकिन जो मैं समझ पाया, जैसे ज्योति मैम टूरिज्म, हॉस्पिटैलिटी और एविएशन की हमने बात किया, तो आपका भी थोड़ा कंसर्न मुझे लगा कि आईटी सेक्टर के लिए स्पेसिफिक कुछ ज्यादा प्रपोजल नहीं है या ज्यादा ऑफरिंग्स नहीं रहे इस बजट में. सो महेंद्र सर, एम आई राइट? So thank you. Thank you so much, speakers, for joining us. And viewers, जैसे कि हम हमारे speaker से comment लिए, it has been an average budget. Some sectors has been given highlights. Some sectors have been missed out. So we look forward to see a better policy implementation now. That is the next thing that we can only expect. So thank you.